Hi guys, we're going to be starting out with the session today. It is going to be how to prepare for CFA level 1 exam August 2021. Okay. Now the idea is that a lot of students might not have started with their preparation. They feel that they have around 2-3 months of time in which they can prepare. So I am going to take today's session with the intention that you guys will be able to clear the exam by following the order of preparation, by looking at the important chapters, important concepts which I'm going to be sharing with you today. Okay, so let us start with today's session. What is the agenda? How are we going to be going ahead with the discussion? The first thing I'm going to be talking about is if you are going for the August exam. Okay, August 2021 exam for CFA level 1, how should you prepare? Okay, what is the order of which book you should start and after which book you should go ahead? Okay, that is the first point of discussion. Then we are going to be start talking about the timeline. Okay, if you start today, what is going to be the broader timeline that you have till the date of the exam? What all things you should be doing? What is going to be the timeline and what is going to be the milestone that we see, okay, for your exam preparation? So I'm going to be sharing that. Okay, then we're going to be talking about important chapters from each book, which I feel there can be questions in your exam, so do not skip that chapter ka list. Okay, then further what we can do is we're going to be doing is we're going to be discussing some important concepts, so which I'll be highlighting some 5 to 10 concepts which will be there in your exam. That's what I feel. That's what we have been discussing in the forums also. So important concepts which can come in your August exam. So we'll give you that list also, 5-10 concepts. Then we'll also be talking about some important tips, okay, which you should follow if you want to clear the exam effectively. Okay, till the August preparation. Okay, in case you guys have any queries in between, you can put it on the chat section. Okay, we'll make sure to address that query as soon as possible during the session, or else at the end we'll have a proper session or proper few 10 minutes for the queries also. Okay, so with this we're going to be starting out with the first discussion point, the preparation strategy. What should be your order of preparation? Okay, if I would have been studying for August exam, my order of preparation would have been the first book I would have tackled is Quant. Okay, and especially the Quant book includes your time value of money chapter. Now this chapter or the basics of statistics becomes the base for your other books. Okay, especially the time value of money. Okay, that's the reason I'm asking you to focus first on the Quant book. Once you've cleared this Quant book, okay, then it becomes easy for you to go towards corporate finance, equity and derivative. These 3 books will become very easy because you have already seen the calculation part in the Quant. You have done hypothesis testing, you have done sampling, then you're good with the calculation, you have used the calculator. Then the further part, which is your corporate finance book, then the equity book and then derivative. These books will become very easy for your preparation, especially the equity book. If you do it and then you go towards the derivative book, okay, then you have some base about how the market is working, what is the basis of your equity derivative. Okay, and if you complete corporate finance and then go for equity, you will have the base of what exactly is a company, how does a company function. Okay, so these 3 books are interlinked, which you can focus on while you are preparing for your CFA level 1 exam in August. Okay, now once you have completed and reached the derivative part, okay, now there's going to be slight change in the content. Okay, so what I've done is I've asked you to complete this book, AI book. Now the AI book is having only 1 chapter. Okay, but don't underestimate this book because a lot of people feel that this book is theoretical. Okay, I will read it at the end. Don't do it. Read it in the beginning or in the middle and then do this revision twice before the exam. Okay, there is only 1 chapter in this book, but if you read this chapter properly, this will become a base for your level 2 where you have 4-5 chapters only from this book. Okay, also from the derivative book, please make sure to read that chapter properly because this is going to be the base for your level 2 also. So don't underestimate because there are only 2 chapters in this derivative book. Okay, don't underestimate these books. Once you have completed the alternative investment book, then you can move towards fixed income. Now, a lot of students face problem in this book because it's calculation intensive. Okay, it includes your duration, it includes your convexity, it includes the valuation of bond, for which you need to have good hands-on experience on the calculator. And that's the reason I had asked you to go through all the corporate finance equity where there is some component of calculation, and then you will come towards this book of fixed income. Okay, once you're done with fixed income, you should ideally be moving towards the portfolio management book. Okay, portfolio management book is also very important. There are few chapters, especially the CAPM related concepts, the Sharpe ratio, Trender ratio related concepts are going to be there in the exam. Okay, so the flow should be, once you complete fixed income, you should go towards the portfolio management. Now the biggest chunk of topics where a lot of students face difficulty in completing those chapters in the exam. Now I have purposely kept this entire bunch in the end. I have purposely kept, the reason being, the closer you are to the exam, then more beneficial it will be for you to remember the concept. That is one part. Okay, now FRA and economics, okay, these two books are heavy in terms of theory, in terms of remembering the logic, remembering the accounting standard. Okay, so these two books definitely you should be revising 2 times. There is no doubt about it. Okay, very important books. These two books are, I'm marking it as star. Also the ethics book. Now the problem with ethics book is, okay, even when you have read the entire content, the questions which you're going to be seeing in the exam is going to be very subjective. To make sure you solve at least 200 questions from this book at least. Okay, because the more question you solve, the more confident you would be in handling the question in the exam. Because in the exam they're going to be giving you weird scenarios and asking you to, I will ask you the question whether there has been any violation of the standard of the CFA institute. Okay, so that is the reason I'm explicitly asking you to solve most of the questions from the ethic books. Okay, I'll be talking about which question bank to solve also in the later part. Okay, now how should be your timeline? If you're starting from the start of April, okay, then ideally what you should be focusing on, you should focus on at least 3 books completion till the end of April. That is quant, the first 3 books, quant, corporate finance and equity. Don't worry, these 3 books are pretty easy. Okay, if you're able to pass that quant hurdle, then the rest of the books will become very easy. So don't worry about it, don't take tension. Okay, that is one part. Second part is, once you have reached the April deadline, okay, you have ideally 2 months to complete everything. The reason I'm asking you to complete everything by June end, because you will get at least 1 month of preparation, 1 month of time to do your revision. Okay, so you should be focusing on completing the next important bucket. These smaller chapters, derivative, AI, only 3 chapters. You can easily complete it at the start of the month of May, and the rest of the month should focus on fixed income and portfolio in management. Okay, it is again not going to be very heavy because you might be doing 4 books in this month of May, but the first two books, derivative and AI, are very small topics, so don't worry about it. The reason I am asking you to complete this by May, because you will get entire month to focus on these 3 books, FRA, economics and ethics. Okay, and special focus has to be on the FRA and ethics because they are very critical books for your exam. Okay, if suppose you are able to fast forward your preparation, then what you should be focusing on is that complete the ethics part by the end of May. And keep the entire month for FRA and economics entirely, so that you can revise the book twice for this. And once you have reached the deadline of June, okay, your exam is in August, I know, but I want you to complete everything by June, because once you have completed everything with the solving by June, then you have the entire month for preparation, for your revision. Okay, and do the third and final review for your ethics. When you are revising the book, please make sure that you go through the difficult questions which you had solved in the first 3 months. Okay, make sure that you go through those questions which you felt were difficult, so that you can revise those questions also. Now, which question bank to solve, okay, and which mock paper to solve, the first preference for your CFA level 1 has to be a Swagger question bank. Okay, now I'm not talking about the question bank which is available at the back of your chapters. I'm talking about the additional Swagger question bank which are available. And then you can also go towards institute level questions for solving. These two question banks are more than sufficient for your preparation for your August level 1 CFA level 1 exam. Okay, now for the mock paper which you're going to be starting in the month of August. Now I'm assuming that you have sufficient amount of time for your August exam. Your dates are at the later part of the month. So you can focus on the start of the month to give at least 4 mock papers. Okay, the institute is giving you 2 mock papers which you can directly download from the site. Further, Swagger book is also giving you 2 mock papers along with your set of book, so you can solve those 4 mock easily and go for the exam. Okay, so this is the timeline that ideally you should be following. If I would have been starting for CFA level 1, I would have followed this strategy to complete everything by June, then revise and focus on ethics and also FRA, and then go for the mock exam and then go for the actual exam. Okay, that is what the strategy would ideally be. Now let me take you towards the important chapters from each book. Important chapters from each book. So what I have done is I have only focused on important chapters, but we're going to be having live sessions in the future where we're going to be talking about important concepts from each book also. So stay tuned for that. Okay, now let us come to this part, quant book. Okay, now quant book, there are like 6 chapters which are there in your examination, but I want you to focus only on these 2 chapters, which I feel there is high chance that they might ask you questions, especially the common probability distribution. Okay, you have the normal distribution, you have the binomial distribution, where the questions can come. Okay, obviously probability is there an important part, but I feel these 2 chapters will be there a critical part in your exam. That is the quant book. Next is corporate finance book. I have explicitly focused on these 3 chapters. Okay, now out of these 3 chapters also, the measure of leverage and working capital is very, very, very important. So mark these chapters as star. Okay, if you are preparing for the exam, don't make a mistake of leaving these chapters. Okay, because there are direct formula based questions which you can expect in the exam, and which institute is asking. Okay, don't worry, institute will ask this question. So out of these 3 chapters, measure of leverage and working capital definitely are very, very critical for your exam. Okay, now once you have completed the corporate finance, let us go towards the equity book. Right, so in the equity book, right, there is one very, very important chapter which is equity evaluation concept and basic tool. Now why is it important? Because it has the dividend discount model, which becomes your base for level 2. Okay, which becomes your base for level 2. So institute is definitely going to ask you 1 or 2 questions from this chapter. Then further, you also have index, security market index chapter, which gives you an idea about different indexes available, how that index return is calculated. So you can expect questions from these chapter also for your August exam. Okay, so that is what I feel, as per my experience, these chapters you should focus on. If suppose you are going to be doing the revision also, focused on these chapters so that you can quickly complete the important concepts. Let us move towards derivative. Now derivative only has 2 chapters. Okay, and I am talking about the second chapter. Okay, in that the put call parity piece, the pricing or the forward price calculation piece is very, very important. Okay, I'll be doing a separate video on these books also, but out of derivative, ideally your focus should be to clear this second book properly. Okay, they will ask you some basic question related to options also. Okay, so that is also important for the exam, but from the chapter perspective, derivative book mein this chapter is important. Now let me take you towards fixed income book. Okay, if I would have been looking at the fixed income book and I want to pick up some important chapters, okay, then these 2 chapters are important for me, especially the first chapter, introduction to fixed income valuation, where you will do the hardcore bond valuation sums. Okay, and you also have fixed income risk and return, which talks about your duration and all of that, right? So these 2 chapters from your fixed income are very, very important, which you should focus on. Do not miss on these 2 chapters. Portfolio management, I have explicitly focused on the core part where they're going to be talking about how the portfolio's risk is assessed. Okay, so these 2 chapters are very, very important. You should definitely be clear about these, the formulas, the calculation from these two chapters. And there is one more small chapter which is bit different, which is basically about technical analysis. Ideally it is related to portfolio management, but when you're reading the content, this chapter seems very, very different. Okay, but let me tell you guys, from the exam you can expect one or two questions from this chapter. So don't miss, even though the content is difficult. Okay, the exam, this topic is important from the exam perspective. So don't miss when you're reading the portfolio management book. Okay, let me take you towards the next part, ethics. Ethics, very, very important book. There is only one chapter, which is a huge chapter from that book. Okay, where you will see the majority of the questions. Okay, and they have given standards. Now what I have done is I have, based on the questions that I have seen in the exams coming, in the content that is there available in the market, I can sense that there are few questions, few topics, few standards which institute might charge or might ask you questions. Okay, first is misrepresentation, very, very important. Okay, if you are an investment advisor, you should not be misrepresenting any facts. Okay, you should not give any incorrect information to the client. So that section has to be clear. Misconduct. Now this misconduct is very, very important, especially when we see in the market there are a lot of frauds happening. Okay, where people have been frauded with their money. So that's the reason institute might ask you question related to the subjective question related to misconduct. Okay, market manipulation is also on the radar, but this I feel this in the coming months or in the 2021 exam they might not ask you very heavily on market manipulation, but obviously misrepresentation and misconduct is very, very important. Okay, further, fair dealing as a concept. Okay, this is important, but out of the list of concept which I have mentioned, this you can skip also if you do not have time. Okay, the next two part, the compensation and the confidentiality wala part, these are very, very important. You could see in the question bank solving also there will be so many questions related to this, so many questions related to confidentiality. Why? Because we expect the institute to ask you questions, and I've seen that these type of questions are being asked lately very importantly in the exams also. So confidentiality, additional compensation questions should be there. Priority of transaction. Now why this concept is coming, because a lot of these investment advisors, they do not pass on information effectively to their clients, or they give first information to their friends or families. So that is why this concept of priority of transaction, and institute is very, very serious when they have highlighted the code of conduct for the investment advisors who are CFAs, that priority of transaction should be given to your clients. Okay, so there this question can also be there for your exam. Okay, so I've tried to give you some important concepts or which you can expect questions in the exam. Let me take you towards FRA. Okay, now in the FRA piece, there are a lot of chapters which are specifically focused on. Now I've highlighted few chapters which I feel there can be an exam related question. Now the first chapter is basically your understanding income statement. Okay, understanding income statement chapter, important because this becomes a base for your further analysis. Okay, then understanding cash flow. These two chapters are related. Because this is a building block for your further chapters of your FRA. Very, very important. All the concepts from this chapter should be thoroughly done. Then inventory. Now inventory is important because we have FIFO, LIFO concepts, and institute can ask you question on those platform also. Whether FIFO is whether LIFO is acceptable in FRA, how the calculation is done, how it is going to impact your COG, cost of goods sold, how is it going to impact your operating income. That's the reason inventory is very, very important. Now income tax and the non-current liability, right? Income tax, the current the income tax asset or the deferred tax asset or deferred tax liability has been a point of discussion also in the forums that I have seen. Okay, and I feel that you can expect questions on income tax related topics or the non-current liability related topics, right? So FRA, from the FRA books, I've highlighted 5 chapters which you should not miss when you're preparing for the exam. Okay, economics book, I'm moving towards that. Economic book is very, very dry. There's a lot of theory involved in it, but the firm and market structure, where you see the introduction of monopoly, okay, oligopoly. That book, that chapter is very, very important. Okay, understanding the business cycle. Okay, now why are they teaching you these topics? Because when you go into equity valuation, when you do financial modeling in your future, right? So there you should be aware about these factors. That's the reason this becomes very, very important, because when you're doing your research also, you're working as a research analyst, these business cycle related chapters become very, very important. Okay, so I'm highlighting understanding business cycle and monetary and fiscal policy chapter is star for your preparation in your economics book, right? I've not taken alternative investment. I have not explicitly highlighted it because there is only one chapter from that book. Okay, so ideally you should be reading that chapter properly. Now, once you are done with the important chapters which you could have focused while you're preparing for the next 3-4 months for your exam, okay, let us come to the important concepts. Okay, the top important concepts which I feel that there might be the questions in your exam. Okay, the first being ethics, priority of transaction. I expect one question from this topic to come in the exam. That is very, very important. The next is quant chapter, or the quant book, normal distribution, standard normal distribution related question. The Z value, then you go to the table, you find the answer. You can expect a question from this topic. Okay, finance chapter, the corporate finance chapter, you have the measure of leverage, degree of operating leverage, degree of financial leverage, and the total leverage. You can expect one question in the exam. Okay, equity dividend model. Okay, equity dividend may, there's a chapter which focuses on the equity valuation. The dividend discount model introduction, the Gordon model, is important for your exam. Okay, FRA, when we talk about one important concept you should definitely not miss, is the LIFO and the FIFO logic, calculation. How is it going to impact? So very, very important. Portfolio management, the formula for CAPM and the SML, how a particular portfolio will be selected or an asset will be selected, when it is overvalued, when it is undervalued. That logic is very, very important, which I feel that the exam might test you on that topic. The derivative books, put call parity concept. Okay, even though it is very straightforward given in the book, there can be some question related to calculation or theory with respect to the put call parity. So be very clear on that topic. Okay, fixed income book, duration. Okay, they might ask you questions on asking you how do you use duration. Okay, when you are looking at and the sensitivity of the portfolio, when you are looking at the sensitivity of a bond. Okay, hence the reason I have highlighted this question. So these are the few important concepts which can come across the book in your exam. Expect some questions from these. Now, let me take you to few quick tips which I have seen students following and they have been able to clear the exam properly. I've been training in Mumbai for past few years on CFA, so I know I've seen a lot of students following these tips, and based on my experience I am asking you this. So make sure that when you complete the solving for your Swagger question bank, go to the institute question and solve it. If you're directly solving the institute question, there is no problem, but please make sure that you go through the institute question by default. Okay, next is solve Swagger mock papers. These are very good questions. Okay, you should be solving it at the start of the August exam. Okay, these mock papers will serve you in the exam. It will strengthen your concept. It will make sure that you were able to sit for the exam for that entire time. Okay, and go and do that solving. Perfect. So Swagger question bank or the Swagger sample mock papers, which are the morning and afternoon paper, you should be solving it by default. Okay, solve at least 200 questions for ethics. Now the problem with ethics book is once you complete the reading of the book, you would not remember anything. You have to solve questions to make sure that you get comfortable with that book. Okay, and the same type of concept will be available in your level 2. Okay, so your effort of solving 200 questions will not go waste. Okay, your effort will not go waste. You should have made some quick notes for your reference with respect to the formula. There is a Swagger quick sheet which you can refer, okay, which will help you to condense the entire reference for the formulas in the exam. Okay, last is make sure that you're comfortable with the calculation of present value, because this calculation of present value is going to be there in every book. Okay, it's going to be there in your corporate finance, in equity book, in your fixed income book, in your derivative book. So please make sure how do you do that calculation in the calculator. This is very, very important. This is a basic thing. right? Not many people are comfortable in that calculation also. So hence I'm explicitly focusing on that part. Okay, friends, in case of any queries, you can put it on the chat section. I will try to address it as soon as possible. Okay, in case of any queries, we will take that query through the chat, don't worry. Okay, so these were the final quick tips from my side. If you want to prepare for the August exam, then this is how you should be doing it. Okay, now let me give you a quick introduction about our institute. I am Ganesh Nayak, and we basically train for FRM and CFA training, and we take live online sessions, and we also take online video, we sell video lectures also. For the online lectures, live online lectures, we give you around 100 to 120 hours of live sessions. Okay, plus we will give you the question bank which can help you to prepare for the exam. Okay, we'll be giving you 3 mock papers. There'll be a recorded backup of the videos for you, and that video you can keep on watching n number of time. There is no restriction that we have put in. Okay, we do give you some sectional test for your preparation, and there is an 100% placement assistance. We also help students to get placed in the corporate once they completed CFA level 1 or level 2. Similarly, we also provide video lectures for the exam so that you can prepare at your own pace. Okay, you don't have to worry about coming to the session, but you can prepare at your own pace. In future, like we'll also be covering some topics for FRM subjects. So similarly, we'll be having sessions for CFA also, live session 9:30 p.m. We'll be keeping YouTube live for you guys so that we can help you in your preparation for the exam. Okay, we'll be keeping the sessions for FRM and also for the CFA exam. Okay, any queries, guys, you can put it on the chat section related to the exam, related to the preparation methodology that you should be focusing on. In case you still have a query, you can reach out to us on the WhatsApp also later point in time. There is no problem. But in case right now, if there is any query, you can let us know. I'll be there for the next 5 minutes to address the queries. We also have a LinkedIn page where you can reach out to us. We also have Instagram page and obviously the YouTube channel where we'll make sure to keep and do a lot of live sessions for you in the future. Perfect. It seems that there's no query from the audience, so we'll close today's session. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much for being a part of this session. We'll be keeping these live sessions for you to help you for the exam, okay, in future. So please join us for those sessions. Till then, stay tuned and stay safe, guys.